Tottenham Hotspur, a club with a gleaming billion-pound stadium, a history of European nights, and fans who once dared to dream of title challenges. Now, they're sitting in 17th place, 1 point above the relegation zone, clinging onto Premier League survival like a man hanging off a cliff by his fingernails, and someone just stepped on his hand. When I made a video about this before, it felt like a bit of a laugh, a cheeky dig at a club having a rough patch. But I'm not laughing anymore. Well, okay, I'm still laughing a little. But there's genuine concern mixed in there now. Spurs aren't just struggling. They are in serious trouble. Let's start with the managers, because honestly, where else would you start? Thomas Frank was brought in to steady the ship, and instead he rearranged the deck chairs while the iceberg got closer. 2 wins in 17 Premier League games later, he was shown the door in February 2026. Enter Igor Tudor, a man appointed until the end of the season, which, let's be honest, is the managerial equivalent of being handed a mop and told good luck with the flood. Tudor has yet to win a single top-flight game since taking charge, and after a 3-0 home defeat to Nottingham Forest, the whole situation has gone from darkly comic to just plain dark. And speaking of that Forest defeat, let's take a moment to truly appreciate what happened there. Nottingham Forest, the side also scrapping around the bottom half, came to the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, that gorgeous, expensive, state-of-the-art arena, and absolutely dismantled them 3-0 at home. In front of their own fans, there is something almost poetic about a club that spent over £1 billion building the fanciest stadium in England, only to be using it as a backdrop for one of the most embarrassing relegation battles in recent memory. It's like buying a Ferrari and then repeatedly crashing it into the same lamppost. The numbers, if you can bear to look at them, are absolutely grim. 7 wins from 31 games, 15 defeats, a points tally of 30 that would make even a newly promoted side wince. Spurs have been leaking goals, missing chances, and finding increasingly creative ways to drop points from winning positions. It's almost impressive in a catastrophic kind of way. Most teams find 1 or 2 ways to throw away a game. Spurs have apparently been working through a full catalog. Lost leads, late equalizers, sloppy defending, goalkeeping howlers. They've ticked every box on the relegation bingo card. Now let's talk about the squad, because the players haven't exactly covered themselves in glory either. This is a group of footballers who look like they've forgotten what it feels like to win a game. There's a nervousness to them, a rabbit-in-the-headlights quality that makes watching them genuinely painful. You can almost see the panic spreading from player to player like a contagious disease. Defenders who should be commanding look like they're apologizing. Midfielders who should be controlling games look like they're asking for directions. And up front, let's just say the goals have not been flowing with any great conviction. And then there's Richarlison. Oh, Richarlison, a man who arrived at Spurs for £60 million with the expectation of being a dynamic, energetic striker who would terrorize Premier League defenses. Instead, his time in North London has been a masterclass in how to be perpetually injured, perpetually frustrated, and perpetually on the verge of a moment that never quite arrives. When he's fit, which, to be fair, hasn't been often enough, he looks like a player carrying the weight of the entire relegation battle on his shoulders. He works hard. Nobody can take that away from him. But a £60 million striker simply has to contribute more goals in a fight like this. And right now, Richarlison looks as lost as the rest of them. If Richarlison represents the attacking woes, then Guglielmo Vicario represents something far more alarming: the fact that even Spurs supposes bright spots have dimmed considerably. Vicario arrived as one of the most exciting young goalkeepers in Europe and showed flashes of genuine world-class quality in his debut season. But this campaign has been a different story entirely. Errors that should not happen at this level, hesitancy when commanding his area, and a body language that at times mirrors the anxiety of the entire squad. A goalkeeper is supposed to be the last line of defense and the first source of calm. And when your goalkeeper looks nervous, you know the whole ship is sinking. For a player of his talent, it has been a deeply disappointing season. And what on earth has happened to Christian Romero? At his best, Romero is one of the most ferocious, commanding center backs in the Premier League. A proper throwback defender who wins headers, makes crunching tackles, and drags a backline into shape through sheer force of personality. But this season, even Romero has looked like a shadow of himself. Whether it's the chaos around him affecting his game, injuries taking their toll, or simply the demoralizing grind of a relegation battle wearing him down, the Argentine has not been the defensive colossus Spurs so desperately need. When your warrior at the back starts looking uncertain, it tells you everything about the state of the dressing room. If Romero can't save this defense, nobody can. The atmosphere around the club has become absolutely toxic, and not in the fun, passionate way that drives the team forward. The fans are frustrated, the board appears clueless, and the players look like men who've been told some very bad news and haven't quite processed it yet. Reports are already circulating that the board sees the international break as a perfect opportunity to sack Tudor, their second managerial dismissal of the season. At this point, Tottenham's manager Caruso has spun so fast it's practically a theme park ride, and not a fun one. More like the kind that breaks down halfway and leaves you stuck upside down for an hour. Here's the thing that truly separates this situation from when I last covered it. The relegation rivals are not going away. West Ham sit just 1 point behind in 18th, and they're not exactly doomed either. The clubs below Spurs are fighting, scrapping, and picking up points, which means Tottenham simply cannot afford any more slip-ups. Every game from here is essentially a six-pointer. Every drop point is a potential nail in the coffin. And given that Spurs have made dropping points their signature move this season, that's an absolutely terrifying thought. What makes the whole thing even more baffling is the sheer scale of investment that has gone into this club in recent years. The stadium alone cost over £1 billion. Player recruitment has not exactly been cheap either. And yet, here they are, fighting off championship-bound sides for the right to stay in the top flight. It genuinely raises the question of how an institution of this size, with these resources, ends up in this position. The answer, of course, is a spectacular combination of poor planning, panic decisions, and a complete lack of identity, a recipe for disaster that Spurs have been perfecting for several seasons now. The truly haunting part of all this is what relegation would actually mean for Tottenham. We're not just talking about a season in the championship, though that alone would be unthinkable for a club of this stature. We're talking about hundreds of millions lost in Premier League broadcasting revenue, star players triggering relegation release clauses and walking out the door, and the very real possibility of a multi-year rebuild from a significantly lower base. The club's ability to compete in the transfer market would be decimated. The brand, built on the back of that stadium and those European nights, would take a hit it might take a decade to recover from. This isn't just embarrassing. This could be genuinely catastrophic. And now, just when you thought this story couldn't get any more absurd, the internet has been handed the greatest gift of the entire season. Tottenham are reportedly planning to appoint Adolf Hitter as their next manager. Adolf Hitter. Now, to be absolutely clear, Adolf Hitter is a perfectly respectable Austrian football manager who has done solid work at clubs like Eintracht Frankfurt and Monaco. This is not a controversy. This is simply the football gods looking down at Tottenham's season and deciding it needed one final, glorious, completely unhinged twist. The mean potential here is, and I cannot stress this enough, absolutely off the charts. A club in free fall, a fan base in despair, a season of total chaos. The man they're turning is called Adolf. The internet will not be kind. The internet will not be subtle. And honestly, at this point, Spurs have earned every single meme that is coming their way. So here we are. What was once a fun little video topic, haha, Spurs might go down, classic Spurs, has transformed into something that actually feels uncomfortable to joke about. Almost. Tottenham Hotspur, a club with Champions League final pedigree, said one bad week away from the relegation zone with a manager who's winless, bored in chaos, and a squad that looks like it's given up on more than one occasion. The Lily Whites are wilting, the fans are suffering, and the rest of the football world is watching with a mixture of shock and barely concealed amusement. If they do go down, and right now, it genuinely looks possible, it won't just be a football story. It'll be a cautionary tale told for generations. And somewhere, an Arsenal fan is absolutely loving every second of it.